to the All Metal Mode podcast with your host, Michael Hare. Tune in every Monday night, 8 p.m. Eastern with co-host Gypsy Jules, and every Tuesday night at 8 p.m. Eastern with Matt Hoffman as we talk to guests, discuss metal detectors, equipment, and everything treasure related. Feel free to join in the discussion in the chat room during the show, and please, if you like what you hear, we'd appreciate you taking a moment, hit that like button, and share the link with your friends. We hope you enjoy the show. The All Metal Mode podcast starts right now.
Hello, everybody. This is Mike here, and you're listening to the All Metal Mode podcast. Matt will be joining us. He had some family stuff he had to do, and he's running a little bit late, but we're guessing by 10 after he should be on the show. So just bear with us and bear with me, and we will get him on the show. You can find us on All Metal Mode on Facebook, All Metal Mode UK, All Metal Mode Podcast UK on Facebook. This is going to be another one of them nights. I should have, you know what? I forgot the Jack and Coke. I think that's the difference. Now I'm going to be stuttering around on my words all night. All Metal Mode UK is every Thursday night, 8 p.m. GMT, which is 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Lot of fun. I know it's the UK, all of our guests are in the UK and stuff, but I love that show. I've learned so much. Great people, great guests. It's a blast. Of course, you can join us every Monday night, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time as well. Don't forget allmetalmode.com if you want to read some of the articles I write. I just published a few. Steph was off last week and gave me some time to get caught up a little bit. I still have a few more articles, but one of the articles I just wrote about was simple metal detector terminology, sensitivity, ground balancing, stuff like that. And I'd never really thought about it. I love learning new detectors and learning. I learned a long time ago, if you learn what your basic settings mean, that most detectors have, it carries over, and how it affects the detector and stuff, it carries over to whatever else you get or move up to or whatever. And, in the past I've thought about it because, I've set up detectors for guys and they don't do anything else. That's how they run it. And I've seen some questions this week lately, some really simple questions by some people that have, been doing it for a while. And so I wrote an article kind of explaining those settings and how they work and, how to understand them, because, the more you understand about your detector and how the settings affect it and stuff, the more successful you're going to be. And, again, it really surprised me, some of the really simple things that people were asking that they really should know. I'm not knocking anybody. Hey, there's guys that just run the same program and they kill it. But, if you're wanting to get the most out, learn those simple programs. Even if you move up to something else that has some different things, it'll help you, so you got to learn half as much or just a few more settings and how it affects the detector. And it's really helped me to successfully learn detectors in a short period of time. Like when I got the Rudis, there were some things on there I'd never seen before. So I know how important ground balance is and how it affects the detector. I know how sensitivity, how it can, change, how your detector acts. Sometimes I'll run a lower sensitivity, which a lot of people are afraid to do. And anyhow, when I got the Rudis, there was really only a couple things I had to learn. So I took the manual and really researched that and made sure I memorized how those settings work and what they do. And, it just helps you a lot. And I know most of you know all that. Are going to know that. But for those people that just that are, haven't taken the time, or you're new to the hobby, learn those settings on your detector. It's really pay off in the end. Somebody said, are the shirts ready yet? No, but Matt did message me some pictures he's working on. We're getting real close to the designs. Hopefully you guys love them as much as I do. And Matt's pretty good at that. I know he's not running the programs he has, but that he's used to, but he's done really good. I like what he's got so far. Another article I just published, and I've had them for months, is on the Magic coils. You've probably never heard of them. They're made over in Russia. But really surprising review on those. I just posted that the other day. So yeah, if you want to check out the articles, allmetalmode.com. Across the top in navigation, there's a button for articles. So check that out. 2019 Watts Rendezvous, 3-day golden treasure hunt, June 21st, 22nd, 23rd, Macos, Colorado. The camp has showers and toilets. Bunkhouses are $45 a night. Camping sites are $40 a night, but includes 3 meals a day. $215 per person. Cutoff is April 1st, so check that out. Bear with me. Ken said, are they Magic underwear? Man, they are really, really low priced coils. I really had my doubts about them. I was really leery, and like I said, I've had them for months, and I've really put them through their paces and stuff. And I was pretty impressed. So let's get Matt in here now. Matt just texted me. He is ready, so we will get him. Perfect timing. Oh, and I called the wrong number. I called the wrong number, right? Yep, I'll call you back. Well, silly me. So let me find him in here. I've got him in cell, and I clicked on the first one. That should have been the last time I talked to him. So let me just bear with me, guys. Sorry, we're gonna get into some good conversation again tonight. There we go. Tonight, keep in mind. All 4 detectors we are talking about are initial impressions. We have not used any of them extensively. This isn't a review. This isn't. Oh, now my phone's ringing. Let me get that volume turned down. This is in no way a review of any of the detectors. It's there might be times I ask Matt questions and he can't answer it yet, and that's fine. Just bear with us, and we will have more shows at a later date discussing probably each one of them. Glad you're finally with us, Matt. You that ended about perfect. So, tell me about the ORX. Let's start with the ORX, and why did you buy that?
When I first saw the ORX introduced, I was intrigued, but my initial thought was, man, is this a super scaled down machine that's really just trying to hit a lower target audience and a lower price range?
Hold on a second. They're saying they can't hear you.
Okay, can you hear me now?
No, it's not. It's not you. What's going on? Why? It says your volume's real low. Our volume's set real high. Let me go out to Spreaker. I'm sorry, guys. We usually test everything first and get set up. What's going on? Okay, hold on. Okay, say something now, Matt.
Can you guys hear me now?
And can you guys hear me? Okay, we're good now. Yeah, I had to I had to reboot my computer earlier, so it Skype of course changed settings on me. Of course, so we'll start over. So we're going to start with the ORX. Matt's got the ORX. Tell us why you ended up buying one.
So when I first saw that machine introduced, I was wondering. I said to myself, "Man, is this a scaled down Deus machine to fit a price range where they've made a detector that's really not worthwhile, or is it its own thing and it's just kind of scaled down in the sense that it's easy to use, but it's its own machine, and though it mirrors the Deus, it is different." So, when you had George on the podcast, unfortunately I missed that night. I wasn't able to get on there. I really wanted to talk to him about that because it's a machine that had intrigued me. Because I'll be honest, I have a lot of machines, and to buy a Deus, they're expensive. I mean, it's not a cheap machine. I hear a lot of good things about them, but for the price, I'm like, I just can't do that right now. And that's what turned me on to the ORX. And, after I started reading about it and looking at different things that it had to offer, I thought, man, this looks like a perfect solution for me. I can try that machine out at a mid-range price, see if I like it. And then, if I say, wow, this thing's great, maybe that would lead me to want more advanced features and options and other stuff that the Deus offers. But I thought it'd be a good opportunity to, at least try it out and see what it had to offer. So I did just that. And there's, right off the rip and right off the bat, wow, is that thing light. You could swing that thing for about 16 hours straight and come in the house and you'd be like, oh, did I even go detecting today? I don't know. I mean, so right off the bat, there's things about it that, to me just make sense. I get what people say now about the Deus and how light it is, and this is even lighter than that because they shaved off additional weight, redesigning the shaft and the way that collapses together. Now, one thing I will definitely say is if you need a machine to put in a suitcase, that is the machine. You could that thing folds up so small, it's insane. And I can't believe how small and tight up that thing will get with the coil on there and everything. I mean, it's absolutely amazing. In fact, when it's collapsed and in my closet, I mean it looks like a miniature detector compared to everything else because it just collapses so small. Which just really a genius design, I think, the way that they've done that and incorporated that new style shaft into there. And I thought that I was pretty impressed with that. And when people talk about a light detector, I mean, it literally weighs hardly nothing. I mean, it's absolutely the lightest detector I've ever stuck my hands on in my life.
Yeah,
so
I've never held one, but I've held a Deus, and when you grab that detector, you're just like, whoa, this thing is crazy light. I get it. What always surprised me with the Deus, when it first came out and guys were bragging about how light it was, I thought to myself, I wonder if it's going to last. I know of guys that go pound the corn stalks all the time, that have been doing it for 5 years and they hold up. And I mean, what are they making this thing out of that they lightened it up even more and it's still strong? Do they have some alien technology? What's going on here? Because they are really light and the Deus is, and to know that the ORX is lighter is like just wow, amazing.
it's super ridiculously light, and my first impression is, okay, it's really light, but is this thing gonna, when I take this out and start swinging, is it gonna have shaft wobble? Is it gonna be kind of all over the place? And to my surprise, it doesn't do that. It's seems to be super solid. I mean, once again, these are initial impressions. I haven't taken it out and beaten it into a bunch of stuff yet, but definitely seems to be very solid. And if trust me, if there's someone that can break it, it'll be me. So we'll see.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. When Matt's ready to do, a review on this and talk more in depth on it, by then we'll know if it's strong or not. Because if anybody can break it, if anybody can break it, it'll be Matt.
So yeah, I mean, it's that in itself left me, truly. I was kind of like stunned. I was like, wow, this it's so small. Like you feel like you got a toy in your hand because it's so light, but yet you have a high powered, nice machine. And so, I took it from there, and I decided to just do some general testing, in my house, because it was, by the time I got a chance to get it out of the box and everything, it was real late in the day, and seems to dead on separate coins from, the pennies, whether an Indian head penny, a copper penny, a zinc penny, the wheat penny. Like, you can definitely see separation between those, clad dimes versus silver dimes and quarters. So yeah, I was very impressed, to say the least, before I even had got it out in the field. And so I did get out. It was Friday. I took Friday off work, and I decided that I was gonna. Well, my initial intentions were to run the Equinox first, but I was just so pumped up with how light that ORX was. And once again, I don't know if officially it's called the ORX or the ORX. I think it's the ORX.
It's the ORX, but some people are calling it the ORX. Yeah.
Okay, but so yeah, I was gonna say I'm gonna call it the ORX anyhow, so because it don't matter. But so I took it out, and I went to a spot that I had hit really hard with multiple machines. I've took the E-Trek over that spot. The 3030 has been over that spot a bunch. My buddy had ran his T2 on that spot, and I wasn't so much expecting to find anything, because there's a lot of iron there. Okay, so it's a very heavy iron spot, but I just wanted to hear how it processed through the iron, and compared to some of my other machines, and and we've pulled a lot of good stuff off that property, but within 5-10 minutes, I came across a signal that was 5-6 inches deep, and it sounded really good, and I dug in, and it was a real nice flat button. So definitely, just once again, initial impression. Can it weed through heavy infested iron? Absolutely. And at 5 to 6 inches, I was more than impressed with that depth. Now, I will say I'm running the coil that I have on there. I opted for the double D elliptical coil, as opposed to, and that's a 9.5 inch elliptical, versus the other coil that they offer for that. I think it's a 9-inch, but it's a double D still, but it's a circular coil. It's more rounded. It's not the elliptical shape. And the elliptical one has a little bit higher frequencies a lot higher frequencies that you can adjust, are available on that coil. And I chose that thinking, if I ever get myself in an area where, maybe I'm out, who knows, I could be out somewhere trying to gold prospect some stuff, and, maybe that machine could come in handy. And so that was one of my thought process with that. And, but yeah, I definitely was impressed with how it separated. The sounds that come off of it are really decent. One thing I did see was, and not being an avid user, and maybe people with the Deus have seen the same thing, and they can guide me in direction on this. But I kept coming across some hot rocks, and the first couple, I wasn't seeing because the screen will flip from the standard screen to when you detect a target, it'll give you the target ID real big on the screen. And I come over a signal and it sounded, I don't want to see it sounded great, but it sounded like, this is something I might dig. But I wasn't seeing the screen flip to that target ID numbers. And I thought, well, that's kind of strange. So I dug it and I pulled out a big, huge rock. And I'm like, wow, surely that's not what's down there. And I ran the detector over it, and absolutely that's what it was. So I was like, well, that's kind of strange. But so I thought, well, maybe it just had the sensitivity way too high, and it's just super crazy. So I turned it down a bit, and I did end up going over some more stuff. But what I did find interesting was that machine definitely allowed me to find pottery that was in that field as well. So, no, it wasn't. I wasn't out there searching for pottery, but in the event that I was looking for pottery shards or evidence that something was there, I would have found it because it definitely picked up the pottery as well. And so I had my buddy go over it with an E-track, and excuse me. Sorry about that. So I had my buddy go over some of those targets with the E-track, and it wasn't doing nothing. It wasn't picking it up at all. And I thought, well, okay, so I don't know if the machine really likes hot rocks or not, but in my first initial test, it seemed to. But that being said, there's obviously a way to avoid that because that was in the coin mode. I'm pretty positive that in both the gold modes, you're not going to be picking up hot rocks like.
Yeah, I would think it would handle that a little bit better and stuff. Yeah, I don't know, but there might be a setting or Bill says that's where the Deus has the advantage. The XY screen does great in hot rocks. But I bet there's something.
Don't get me wrong, because every time I went over a hot rock or a rock that was either had iron or whatever, minerals in it that the detector liked, that screen did not change to the pinpoint screen, or not pinpoint screen, to the target ID screen. So even though I did dig, 5, 6, 7 of those throughout the course of using that, I was confident after like the first two that it was a target that was a hot rock. And I wouldn't have otherwise dug them other than just trying to learn that machine. I dug them out, and everyone that it did that on was definitely was a rock that it seemed to really like. So that was interesting to me. But that being said, that's I guess that's not I wouldn't call that a detriment or a downfall for me, because I was easily able to tell. It'd be no different than going over iron. That sounds good, but I could easily tell that it was going to be a hot rock, and I could move on without digging, So, I guess that didn't bother me.
You said you found some pottery with it too.
Yes, sir. I did.
Was the pottery doing the same thing, not flipping the screen?
Yep.
Okay, so that's a good sign. I mean,
yeah, it wasn't flipping to the target ID screen, which my first impression when I first saw that, I was just confused what was going. Because I'm going over a signal that sounds, to my untrained XP ORX ears, sounds great. Well, it sounded good, and I'm like, why ain't the screen flipping? That's kind of strange. And so it didn't take me long to figure out that that's what it was doing. And the pottery pieces, I dug 3 pottery pieces, and they all did the same thing too.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Once again, is there maybe ways around that? I don't know, but the sheer fact that it didn't bring up the target ID screen was enough for me to say, hey, that's a non-issue. That's
sorry, go ahead.
So no, I mean, that's just enough for me to say that, hey, it can definitely is very sensitive and can find stuff. And if it does react on a rock, then the way it was reacting, I would be able to easily tell that that's what was going on. So yeah, I was pleasantly happy with that, I guess.
So I know you don't have much time on it, but have you found anything that was masked or deep that really impressed you yet?
No, I mean that the only target that sounded good that we dug was that flat button, and I said it was about 5 to 6 inches. But sitting right in the pile of iron. I don't doubt that I went over that and missed it potentially with the 30-30.
Yeah.
I don't doubt that one bit that I easily missed that target. I mean, I did pull a lot of stuff out of there that was in heavy iron, but that one was in a lot of iron.
Just recently you found something like really, really deep. I thought that was...
Oh, that was with the Rudis.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I was 2 full pinpointer lengths down into the ground before I found a button that was the size smaller than the size of a dime. And I about fell over when I pulled that thing out of there finally. I'm like, you got to be kidding me. I don't know how I could have even found this thing.
Huh. I thought that for some reason
it had to have been 12, 14 inches down there. At least I'd say 14 because that pinpointer's got to be at least 7 inches, maybe 8. I used I had the MindLab Profine 35, which is that newer one they came out with. So I don't know what the measurement is on that, but that's at least 7, 8 inches. And I was basically 2 of those solid stacked up. That's how deep I was till I found that target. And,
wow.
And I can assure you that it didn't gradually fall down lower and lower in the hole because I wasn't getting a single beep or nothing the whole time I was digging. And at that point, I was like, all right, I've got enough time invested in this hole. I want to know what the hell's down here. And I was expecting to pull out a giant can or something, and I pulled out a button that's smaller than the size of a dime.
Yeah. Real quick, let me say, if you're listening tonight and you're not in the chat, we'd love for you to join us in chat. If you have any questions for myself or Matt, please ask away. I'm monitoring the chat. It's real easy to do. If you're listening, look for the chat bubble. It looks like a little cloud, and just click on that and you can join chat. We would love some questions. I'm not saying we are going to be able to answer much yet on any one of these detectors tonight, but we will do our best. And so another thing, the headphones. If I remember right, this one you were really impressed with the headphones.
Yeah, so the headphones, and I'm not and I'll be the first to tell anybody, I love big, huge headphones generally that cover way up over my ears, and believe it or not, I get distracted easily, even metal detectors.
Huh, who would have thought? Huh.
So when I hear external stuff going on around me, I'm like, what, squirrel, huh? And I'm off in a different direction. So normally those are the type of headphones I prefer. However, these headphones are super small, super light, super compact. They kind of fit more around like the back of your head and then just over your ears. So they don't completely cup your ears to what I would standard like to hunt with, but they do get super loud, and the tone sounds really good coming through them. I don't hear any delay in it. It sounds clean. The audio's clean, and one thing that I really think is cool about the headphones is that you can, I think is it the left or is it the right? Doesn't really matter. Hold on, I got them in my hand as I'm speaking. It's the left headphone. No, right side. You can pop that earpiece, the whole piece pops off, which is your WS audio module, and then there's a clip that you can buy that clips right into the back of this that has a standard headphone jack on it. So if you don't want to use these headphones, your module is right in the headphone piece itself already. So you don't have the headphones and then a separate module. If you don't want to use these, you pop it off, clip that clip in there, pop your headphone jack in, whichever one you want to use. And I mean, this thing's what, 1.5 inch, 2-inch diameter, and super small, super light, weighs absolutely nothing once again. So you can just toss that right in your pocket and man, you're good to go. Or, let's say, if, for me, that's a great solution. They have a solution if you don't want to use the headphones that they've provided, which from my testing seem to work really well. They're super easy to pair. You hit the button and it's 2 seconds later, it's good to go. And man, you're off and running. So one thing I would say about this machine compared to what I know hold tight 1 second. I gotta, Mike, just bear with. I gotta take care of some kids real quick.
Yeah, it's all right, man. So, Bill, you're asking what frequency does the ORX operate? I'm guessing you're talking about like what frequency does it does the coil talk to the detector and the detector hold on real quick. Or do you know this, Matt?
No, not exactly what you're asking, but
well, I'm not sure what he's asking. I'm not sure. I'm guessing he's talking about like he wants to know how it does. Have you had it around EMI?
I did, and I didn't have any major issues. I do know in the one spot there was some minor EMI, and it didn't bother it at all. There was another spot that I used it. I didn't have issues there either. Now I will say that shockingly, my 3030 didn't like that spot as much as the ORX. Now I don't know if that's, I can't speak for how common it is around heavy EMI, how it'll perform, but both spots one spot had medium, I'd say medium to moderate, EMI coming from some power lines, and it didn't affect that at all. In fact, it didn't do nothing. I was running probably like 3/4 sensitivity, maybe a little higher, and I saw nothing from that. And when I did get out my 3030 later on in that area, I was getting some chatter that the noise cancel wouldn't take care of. So, and that obviously may just depend on from site to site on and different what's coming off of what specific frequencies are coming off of something. But it once again worked pleasantly well for me where I was at the time. So, and I don't know what the frequency to the headphones is, what it uses. I'll be honest, I'm not sure that technology that they're using. I'm assuming it's very similar to the what MindLab uses with their wireless technology to or for their headphones for their audio. But I don't know.
Real quick, Jason asked, does the ORX share coils with the Deus? I know this answer from having Mr. Blackwell on the UK show. Yes, they do. They share coils.
Yes.
Do they share them all? I know that the
not
X30.
all of them. Not all the coils are compatible. The X35 ones are. Some of them are, and some of them aren't. But for the most part, I think there's any of the ones that are, say, I think X35 or whatever. Those ones definitely are compatible.
Yeah, those 100%. Are compatible. I think the older, which everybody's going after the X35 coils. So I'm assuming they're the better coil. The earlier coils, from my understanding, do not work, but I don't think you'd want to go that route anyhow from what little I know.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of, you have a machine where you have less features, obviously, than the Deus, but I was able to read through the manual, take that machine out, and, within an hour or two, feel pretty comfortable that I had settings set good enough and that I wouldn't be missing targets necessarily.
Yeah.
And that, to me, I mean, for a lot of people, I think that could be huge. Let's face it, there's a lot of people that may not get out on every day or every couple of days. It may be maybe once a week, maybe once a month. And, to have a machine that mirrors how the Deus works, it's super light. Definitely can separate. It's got different reactivity speeds, so it can get way in between iron. To have a machine like that's super simple to use and to set up, I think it says a lot because not everybody thinks about metal detecting 24 hours a day like I do. So
right now, I know one of your things. Let me ask this question first. There's something you're not too thrilled about on it, not performance-wise, but was it the pinpointing, how you pinpoint with it?
Yeah, that's out of everything, and there's a few other really cool things about this machine that I want to mention. We'll get to that, but the one thing that I did not like was the location or the operation for the pinpoint feature on the machine. Now, I do want to preface that by saying I didn't feel the urge by swinging that just a coil and turning some 90 degrees directions. Basically, I was able to easily pinpoint where the target was at just on my own, not using a pinpoint feature.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of that's due to because I do have the 9.5-inch elliptical coil. It's not a super huge coil. It's long, but it's not super
something else. These detectors are getting so fast.
I think that has a lot to do with it.
I mean, I'll talk about it, but when I was beach hunting with the Anfibio, I don't think I used the pinpoint at all. So go ahead. Yeah, I mean,
but the way that they have that structured and set up, you have to hold that pinpoint button down for approximately 2 seconds for it to go into pinpoint mode. And then you let it go, it stays in pinpoint mode, and then you have to hit the back arrow button, which is up above that, to release it from pinpoint mode. That, to me, is the one thing I think that so far that I think is a severe injustice to that machine, and I'm a little disappointed with that particular design, I guess, for how that is functioning. Because if you just press the button for that pinpoint button where that's at, that's also the ground grab button. So when you want to reground balance, you pump your coil, pump it over the ground, and pop that button real quick and let it go, and it'll ground the can't get that out of my mouth. It'll do a ground grab, and then it'll in theory then once you do that, your actual ground condition numbers would then match your ground balance numbers on the machine. I don't know. I kind of wish there was a different location. They would have put that button, but maybe all things considered for that layout, that makes sense. I don't know. I don't like the fact that you got to hold that button in for a while to get it into pinpoint mode. To me, that's too much time wasted to even use that pinpoint feature. Now, once again, I tried to use it a few times. It bothered me. And I said, well, why am I even doing that? Because I can pinpoint these targets super easily just swinging the coil.
Exactly.
It was super easy to do either way. So, that would be my one complaint that I do have about the machine is that I really don't like how that's set up for pinpointing. But
here's the thing. Here's kind of my thought on it. With the Anfibio, oh geez, my mind just went.
Cruiser.
The Cruiser too, but the Rudis, the Anfibio. I was going to name another one. Like I find myself, I rarely use the pinpoint button. So I think you'll find with this detector that they're so dynamic and so fast. I don't know if dynamic's the right word. I think so. You just don't. You get to where you don't use them anymore. I don't know. So I don't think that's horrible when you can quickly and easily pinpoint without using the pinpointer. I don't know if that's a horrible thing because you're only going to use that from time to time. Then once you get used to it.
I'll say like on the E-Track and 3030, I do use the pinpointing a lot, but those machines aren't near as fast as these ones as far as processing. So, that would make sense. Now, like the impact is the same way. Like I use the pinpointer button, but that machine too, like I'm pretty confident that 90% of the time I wouldn't need to use it anyhow, because it's picking up those targets so fast anyhow and separating that stuff that you can tell exactly where the object is at that you're trying to get.
Matt, let's wrap it up because it's 8:40 and we have 3 other detectors to cover up. So
okay.
Let's
just say one more thing.
No, go ahead. Yeah.
Okay. One of the main reasons I've always knocked XP in the past was that you had to charge the coil. And to me,
Yes.
that seemed outrageous, ludicrous, and I was like, I'm never going to do this. I can't get past that. Well, let me tell you, the ORX, it comes with a cable. You got 3 leads off of it. I literally popped the little screen off the detector. I let the lower coil cable shaft part, pull that out. I set it on my table. I grabbed my headphones. I set those down. I plug my charger in. I go pop 1, 2, 3. Everything's and like it couldn't be simpler. I mean, it's so simple to do. Like I'm ashamed that was one of my hang-ups for so many years.
Yeah, that's funny. I get that. So one last thing, ORX. What do you think?
ORX, in my book, it's a keeper.
Okay, good deal. And again, folks, we will, as we learn these detectors, we will have more on them and more discussion. So now I'm going to talk about the Anfibio, and I'm going to clear a few things up. Hopefully, I don't know if you guys remember. Before my last Ohio trip, I got the Anfibio just a few days before I left. I was really excited. I was posting some stuff. My idea was to get some videos on it, do some different things. And then I kind of disappeared. I also have the Nocta Macro USA Facebook group. And I just kind of dropped out of, I was active, but I didn't answer questions on the Anfibio. Well, when I went to Ohio, although there were times it impressed me, I felt like there was an issue with the detector. I get back to Texas, and I'm still having issues. And it's like, okay, am I having an issue, or do I not like this detector? Because it wasn't that it wasn't working, and it wasn't that even sometimes it was impressive, but my main issue was I was digging a lot of iron. And when I say I'm digging a lot of iron, please understand, getting good tones. The tones weren't breaking up. They weren't clipping. I could turn 90. I was getting good tones. Sometimes they were reading perfect like coins, and I found myself digging so much iron that I was super frustrated. Well, I got that the same week that the dealers got them. So, I was definitely one of the first people to get one. So there wasn't much out there. Well, stuff started coming in on it. I thought, okay, something is wrong with this. And I talked to Delic and then sent her video and stuff. And, again, I wasn't sure that something was wrong with it. I mean, it's working. It's doing some great things on one hand, but on the other hand, I'm struggling with it. And, part of me was like, okay, people are comparing it to the multi-cruiser. Maybe it's not a multi-cruiser. You've seen what happened when the AT Max come out. I think a lot of people were comparing it to the AT Pro, and they were struggling with it because of that. And so I thought maybe it was one of those cases. Well, after more testing, more using it and sending her video and comparing it with the cruiser and changing coils out and everything else, okay, there's a problem with it. So I have a lot of hours on the detector. Unfortunately, a lot of those hours are with a bad head unit. So we figured out it was a problem. Delic sent me out a new head unit, and it is night and day. Matter of fact, I'm going to probably explain this wrong, but just the other day I was out with it, and I went to a schoolyard. I hung out in this field back in the early 1900s. There was other buildings and stuff there, but it's a lot of trash, a lot of modern trash. Well, I'd never hunted up right behind the school, outside of the fence. There was soccer goals, and I thought, okay, I'll go over and hit that for a little bit. And there was so much modern trash that it just but I could easily pick the coins out of that. And it was just one impressive find after another. I felt like, some of these detectors that are, the processors are getting so fast, I find can be confusing. And that's probably me, because I come from E-Track CTX, or the processors are slower. You got to swing them slower. They do great for what, they do great. You just got to swing them slower, and you don't get that. And, but man, was this thing just hitting those high tones, and those tones sounded so good that even in all that heavy trash, I was picking coins out left and right. They were IDing perfect every time. Like, one of the things with the multi-cruiser is it will, when you're in 3-tone, which is my favorite program, I find that I get a lot of the VDI isn't as stable. I was in 3-tone, and I tried 4-tone, 5-tone, even tried the 99-tone, and I was loving every single program I put it in. They were all just nailing those targets. But even in 3-tone, I mean, pennies were coming up exactly the same every time. Dimes exactly the same. Quarters. I mean, it was just, man, me and that machine really connected the other day. Just really hit it off. I don't think it probably collapses down like the ORX, but man, does it collapse down. It is absolutely.
Well, Mike,
so
I want to
nice.
say it may not collapse down as small as the ORX, but I don't think anything does. But that Anfibio is probably second in line, because I remember that day standing in the field when you had that, and I was like, man, I am in love with how small that collapses down.
Mm-hmm.
And which is exactly why I bought one.
Right. So, in like the last 2 weeks, you bought an ORX, an Anfibio, and an 800, correct?
Yeah.
Now, have you even got the Anfibio out?
No, it's supposed to be showing up tomorrow.
Oh, you don't have it yet. Okay. Now, so real quick before I keep going on the Anfibio, what interested you in the Anfibio, and what turned you into buying? What turned you on to buy one?
When I was down in Virginia with Brian Harvey, I watched him kick my ass up and down the street with that Anfibio. Now, 90% of the stuff he went over that I did spot check, I could hear on the Rudis. It was questionable on the 30-30 in some cases, but hands down, the machine definitely works well in mineralized soil, and it definitely is a deep machine.
Yeah.
And
yes,
I was so impressed by, that in itself, like what he was, the amount of targets he was going over and finding. Now, and don't get me wrong, he's obviously a better relic hunter and Civil War era hunter than I am. However, that machine clearly worked well, and that coupled with the fact that it collapses down so small, I said I got to have one of those. And then luckily you turned me on to the fact that Bob was selling his, and I said I'll tag it.
Yeah. I'm kind of surprised he sold that, but he just has a lot going on. But I'm excited for you, especially. We'll be able to compare and go more in depth on the Anfibio.
I think that'll be good too.
And I think in future shows, I want to do some comparisons. Matt, I'm going to write some articles. Matt's going to do some reviews. I'll write them out, but they're going to be in his words, and we're going to, of course, I'll give him credit for it. So I'm really looking forward to that, because that's one of the things I love to do. The shaft balance is amazing. It is just incredible. Now, I'm getting old. Yeah, I know. Don't make fun of me. And all the years of swinging, I remember 20 years ago hearing guys say, I want a lighter machine. And I'd kind of snicker to myself, kind of, or chuckle to myself. But I get it now, man. It takes a toll on your arm all the years. Now, it is super well balanced. It collapses great, but it's a little bit heavy. Now, I don't have problems with it. Doesn't even hurt my shoulder, but, a couple weeks ago, I was out with it after I got the new head unit, excuse me, and I got into some high grass, and it was, trying to pull it through that grass was bothering me a little bit, but I can't say it's a bad thing because that thing is so sturdy, and I will take sturdy over light. I love the design. It's comfortable. The hand grip's comfortable, all that kind of stuff. It's just perfect. Now, Matt doesn't like the multi-cruiser headphones, and this is going to be the same headphones. I love them. I think they're plenty loud enough. They sit on your ear, but they're super comfortable. They're lightweight. I make headphones. I make custom headphones. I love my headphones.
I'll send you mine from my cruiser because I won't ever use them.
Right, and especially, I like my headphones. For especially the summer here and stuff. They're having a big bulky pair of headphones. Now, I did hook up my own headphones when I was beach hunting because I knew it was right by a busy road. And I don't think I would have had any issues, but I wanted over the ear so I could really hear the tones coming through. But I like them. I know you won't like them, but I love their headphones. When it was first announced, they were saying that the multi didn't have iron audio. And if you have listened to the podcast, read any of my stuff, I love iron audio. And I'm like, what the heck do you mean no iron audio? Well, now it has, you can adjust each one. So if you're in 3-tone, you can adjust all 3 segments, or 5-tone or 4-tone. I like that. That's even better than iron audio to me, because now I'm not just if I'm in a trashy park, but I might want to think about gold, I can turn that volume down and not turn it off or all the way down. I can turn my iron all the way off, or just barely make it audible or whatever. I can, it allows me, because I love to run a detector wide open as possible, or wide open all the way. So that gives me the opportunity to do that now. Even in really trashy parks, even with modern trash, I can turn off that, most of your trash is going to fall in, that pull tab kind of range, the little chunks of aluminum and all that. And, I can turn iron volume all the way off or to 1. I can change that middle tone, or those 2 different middle tones I can set. I love that feature. That is a huge improvement in my eyes, for me anyhow. Lightning fast. I was thinking about this. As detectors get faster, it doesn't have a setting for how fast you can go. And I think you get any faster, and I think you would start having trouble, it being too fast, but it's at a really good speed. But like Matt mentioned, it's deep. So a lot of these detectors with the adjustable speed, it'll tell you even in the manual that, as you go faster, you can lose some depth. So, man, this thing is deep and lightning fast. It's not adjustable. I don't care. It's plenty of fast for anything I would ever need to do. I was in a super trashy area, and that thing just, and what was nice, like I said, it just, those high tones, not just the high tone, but I could really hear it. I could really distinguish between, even in the high tone range. I don't know. You know what I mean, Matt? Like you get that.
Yeah.
Dude, I felt more comfortable with this detector last time out than I have with anything. I was completely blown away by it. Like I said, it was hitting coins perfect and everything else. So although I have a lot of hours on it, that's that's what I can say right now. There's still some more tests I want to run. There's still some more detecting, some different places, where I've hunted before that I know what the ground's like. And when I got the new head unit, right off the rip, I dug a piece of iron. And like my heart sank, and I'm just like, oh man. But it happened. You know what I mean? Like, that's the only piece of iron I've dug. And anybody who's been detecting, it's used it, every detector out there, anything I've ever used, iron will fool you now and then. You're going to get that piece of iron that you'll get fooled by. So, but now I can't even tell you how many hours I have on it. I just don't know. God, I got to have 6 hours on it or so, 8 hours. And that's the only piece of iron I've dug. So that's a really good sign. And nobody else I talked to was having issues with iron like I was. So a good thing. Hey, Matt, we're going to take a real quick break, okay?
All right.
Okay, we'll be back in like a minute. So shut your pie hole, Matt.
Nokta Macro Detectors is the fastest growing manufacturer in the industry, and for good reason. Many detectors, including Mike Hare, call us the most innovative, but we're so much more than that. We listen to and care about our customers. We also offer a wide range of detectors to fit all of your needs. Come check out all of our products today at www.noktadetectors.com. Detectors for everyone, everywhere. A lifetime.
How fancy was that, man?
That was nice.
Right. Kimmy did that for us. How awesome is that? So, that's all I have on the Anfibio right now. There will definitely be more. There'll be write-ups, articles, reviews coming, but I do have to get more time on it. Like I said, there's still some things I want to work on. I want to get into some of the other programs a little more. Even the 99 tone, man, I was enjoying that the other day, and I didn't. I want to go back. I haven't been on the multi-cruiser in a while, and I want to do some comparisons because I feel like as fast as the processor, how quick it processes targets, I feel like the Anfibio is even faster. And I find that hard to believe. So I want to get them side by side. I want to do some testing. I want to do a few things before I get real in-depth articles going and stuff. One last thing I do want to say, the new coil. Through part of trying to figure out what my Anfibio problem was, I switched coils. So I put I put the Anfibio coil on the multi-cruiser and the multi-cruiser on the Anfibio detector. And that coil, they're both 11-inch coils. The cruiser coil is a narrow, long coil. The Anfibio coil is a big, round coil. In general, I prefer the long, narrow coils. Just in general, that's been my own personal experience. That's it. So when I first saw the Anfibio, I'll be honest with you, I was a little disappointed that it had a big round coil on it. But at the same time, I've never seen a manufacturer come out with two coils that pretty much the same size, different shape, and the new coil just blow the old coil away. Man, it made that multi-cruiser come to life. So I will be getting one of these coils for my multi-cruiser. I was so impressed, man. And I've heard some other guys talk about that. And I recently just saw a video where a guy has two multi-cruisers, and he keeps the stock coil on one and the Anfibio coil on the other, and buries a small hammered coin. I want to say at 10 inches. It's a small one though, and nothing comes out of the stock cruiser coil. No sound, no nothing, no identification, and anything's down there. And then with the Anfibio coil, he nails it. There's a good difference, man. And like I said, for me, it really brought that alive. I think it'll take no time, and the multi-cruiser users, you'll see them updating to this new coil. And I think it's a good move. Man, my throat tonight. So
It's
let's
funny
move.
you should say that, Mike.
Go ahead.
Because though this isn't what we're talking about, the 17-inch coil I have I think it's a 17-inch coil for the 3030. That coil, I can hunt. I enjoy using that coil, and I'll be in a trashed out place or even a heavy infested iron area, and I will pull more stuff out with that coil than I can with the standard. What is it, 9-inch or 11-inch or whatever that standard
11-inch
coil is. And I don't know why, I can't explain it, but that for some reason that coil is, if anybody wants some super deadly settings using the 17-inch coil on the 3030, hit me up, because I came across these in a video on YouTube one time, and I said, well, I'll try it out. And
Squirrel.
Holy moly.
Here we are talking.
But anyhow,
we're talking about 4 detectors tonight, and Matt's going off on a CTX. Holy Jesus, Lord help me! Lord help
listen,
me.
This is the same thing where you're saying like a different coil can make that machine just come alive.
But I mean, I get that, but we're talking, 2 different sizes and stuff, and we're talking about a different detector than we're even talking about tonight.
It's not has anything to do with depth.
Hey, Matt,
targets.
I'm going to pray for you tonight.
You should pray for me every night.
Right. I used to work. I used to work with a lady that I'd tell her stories and stuff all the time, and she would just look at me. She was a sweetheart, and she'd go, "Mike, I'm going to pray for you tonight." And I said, "Good deal. Do that for me." Then.
I used to have a bunch of people tell me that.
Right. Yeah. So let's go off into the 800, because this one is 800. My most excited. I think you've probably got the least amount of time on this one, right?
Yeah, I have the least amount of time on the 800.
But you got a few hours in on it, right?
Yeah, I got some time in on it, and
yeah.
Let me once again. I don't have a lot of time in on it, so obviously time will tell, and my opinions and reactions to the machine will change. But my initial reaction is, I find the thing to be coil heavy. It kind of reminds me of the AT Pro, not as bad as the AT Pro, but it definitely seems coil heavy. Now, perhaps with adjustment of the arm cuff to some different positions, maybe that balances out a little different. But where that seats on my arm and where I have it, it's definitely coil heavy to me, and I wasn't expecting that. So that kind of threw me right off the bat. I wasn't expecting that. The machine, everybody talked about how that it was a really light machine. To me, it feels heavier than I would have expected, but it feels very solid. It definitely, the shaft's solid. It seems like a nice build overall. So, yeah, I was happy with that. And I don't know if it's just me. Okay, so Sunday I was out, and we had wind gusts topping 60 miles an hour, and it was downright violent outside. But
right,
and it was cold too. But I was set on going to detect, and so I went anyhow. And I had a real problem with that wind in those headphones. The headphones that it comes with, I could hardly hear stuff from the headphones as loud as I could get that to go. Now, once again, the wind was ripping through outside. So even like on my pinpointer, I couldn't hear the pinpointer beeping. I could feel the vibrations, but I couldn't even hear it beeping. It was just that windy. So, that led me to want to change to bust out the WM8 module and put the headphones, some earbud headphones into that, because I didn't have an adapter with me to go to the the quarter-inch jack versus what is an eighth-inch jack. That's on there. So I unfortunately couldn't figure. I didn't hold the button in on the darn detector long enough, and if I'd have held it in for like 2 seconds, I would have found out that it would have been super easy to connect. So, that really threw me for a loop there when I was out, and I ended up after some time just giving up on that, and I had to switch detectors because I just couldn't get it going. But I feel like the tones that the detector makes out of the speaker itself sounded fantastic, but I don't know if it was. I feel like something's lost in them headphones. Like I just didn't have the.
Hold on, Rook. Let me. I think it's unfair to say that yet from 60-mile-an-hour winds.
Yes. Now, once again, don't forget I'm detecting in 60-mile-an-hour winds.
Yeah.
So I felt like they weren't as smooth as what the speaker itself was putting out.
Now, I think that's worth mentioning because you tested that even in your house because you thought there were issues.
Yeah, I tested that in my house too. And I tested my house with, I tested it with a pair of really good earbud headphones that with the module, and it just, I don't know, something just didn't sound as good to me through the headphones as it did out of the speaker, which would normally be kind of the opposite. I would expect the speaker to not sound as good and the headphones to be better. But so, maybe that was just a fluke, and I got another pair of headphones. I want to try on that and see if that's any different. But so, I don't have a ton of time on the machine. I will say that I do find the menu system actually pretty easy to use. I do like you can set the individual tone volumes. That's kind of cool. One thing it doesn't have is that volume gain like the other MindLab stuff does. So I got to get used to accounting for that. But obviously, as many people that really like the 800, it's got to be a decent machine. And obviously, I need more time on it to make full judgments. But like I said, my only complaint so far would really be that it feels a little coil heavy. But maybe perhaps if I adjust that arm cuff and move the head unit down some or adjust that slightly, maybe that'll clear that issue up for me.
Mm-hmm. One of the things when you and I met up with Tom Dunn, and he let me hold it, and this isn't huge to me. I can overlook a lot of stuff if it performs well. But one of the things, there's all these complaints about these shafts, and I thought people were kind of being over dramatic. I thought, if I get one in my hands, I just don't see it being such a problem. But I didn't like it. I hate the arm cuff. I think that's so horrible. I mean, my God, you're talking pennies probably to build a better. I don't understand why they did that. I hate that cuff. I hate it. But, one of the things he mentioned was his hand rides up and it ends up underneath the control housing rubbing. And as I'm sitting there swinging it, I noticed my hand moving up until it's up under the control housing rubbing. So I love that it's on a straight shaft. I love that it's lightweight. But I feel like that's all kind of a poor design there. Again, I would own one if it got the job done. It's not that it's not doable, but I found that a little bit disappointing myself. But now, was there anything that impressed you about it? Any finds? I mean, was there anything that was masked, or do you not have enough time to really speak?
No, the spots that I was testing it, I really I didn't find anything exciting. So, and it's likely that there probably just wasn't anything exciting there. Mm-hmm. I found some coins, but nothing super amazing. Like it wasn't like I didn't. Well, I guess obviously as I get more time on it, and I do know, that that there's a park that I hunted really hard, and I talked to Noel, another guy that lives in Akron area, and talking to him through the show and whatnot, I said, come down to this park, and if you can find a silver, I'll be shocked. And he went down there and not only pulled one silver, I think he might have pulled two out of that park. And it's a spot that I've pounded. So obviously it must be a faster machine, because I know the areas he pulled that out of were pretty trashed out and pretty tough to hunt. But I would have pretty confident that I had yanked any silvers out of that area that still existed, and he obviously found one with the machine. So, it definitely seems that it's going to be a very capable machine. Right now, if I was to say which machine would I use, it'd be where am I going detecting, because that would make all the difference in the world potentially. I would feel more confident myself with the Equinox in a really trashed out place. With a lot of modern trash, but I would feel probably more confident with the ORX if I was in a place that had more iron and, not as near as much older trash. So, but yeah, I don't know. And I did order I don't know if it's a 3 or 4 inch coil, for that, it's a little tiny guy.
For which one?
For the Equinox. So, and it's a little tiny. It's a tiny. Maybe it's a 5 inch. I don't know. Maybe 5 inch at best. It's small.
One of them little hockey puck ones.
Yeah, it's small, and I think that thing will really help when I get to some of these sites where they're not, where they cut the corn, but they're not putting it in a silo. So you got 6 inch to 12 inch corn stalks still standing and kind of laying down and. I think that'll help me weasel in real tight up against some of those rows where the corn is, and I'm reasonably confident that in some field sites that would be super deadly, getting real close to some of that stuff.
Hold on real quick. I got to tell you this. I looked down at my phone and I had a new Facebook message. My buddy Donnie Lang in Ohio, he found a large scent today, and on his way home, he was telling me about it, and he was telling me how nice it was. I gotta say, it's an 1844, and that is the nicest looking Doug large scent I've ever seen, dude. It is beautiful, just beautiful, man. Donnie, if you're still listening, if you get a chance, will you post that in All Metal Mode on Facebook? Oh, I don't know he does Facebook.
Yeah, I pulled one on Sunday out in those ridiculous winds we were fighting, and it was a 1852 or 55.
Dude, this thing is stunning. It is stunning.
And my picture doesn't do justice to the one I found Sunday, but it's the best looking one I've ever found in my life. Both front and back are absolutely beautiful.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
Huh. Man, this is the nicest one I've ever seen. But anyhow, I'm sorry. So you just don't have enough time on this one to really.
Yeah, I can't make full judgment. I don't have.
Oh, no, I know you can't. But so you haven't even found anything yet that really impressed you, like the depth or the separation.
No, I haven't. I haven't come across anything yet that I was like, wow, that was impressive. But then again, that was potentially just the area that I was hitting. They're just really
right. Oh yeah, for sure, man. I mean, I totally get that. I mean, and again, to anybody listening, if you came in late, these are our first impressions. We are not given any kind of review, any kind of judgment passed down, because we do not have enough time on any of them. This is what do we like right off the bat. But you just what have you got on at less than 5 hours, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, there's no way we can judge. I was just curious, I mean, heck, I've hunted with a new detector and found something that it really impressed me right off the bat, and I'm going to get into that when we go to the C-scope and stuff. But is there anything else we wanted to talk about the 800? Did you say anything that you do like about it, or did we talk about that, or anything you didn't like off of it right off the bat?
I like the menu system. I think it's pretty intuitive overall once you understand the different icons. If you know the icons, like, plus I think it actually tells you on the little screen protectors. I didn't really look at those. I think the one I stuck on there is in like Chinese or something, but because it has like different. I was wondering why it came with so many of them, and then I realized when I looked at it, like at the bottom it's got writing, but it's a bunch of different languages on those screen protectors it comes with. Mm-hmm. So I think the one I have on it right now is in Chinese, which that wasn't obviously helping me. So I don't know what they actually say, but I noticed as I fanned through that they were all in different languages.
Hold on, I got to hear how you ended up with a Chinese sticker on it. Just tell me.
Well, I was like, when I opened the pack, I'm like, damn, this is crazy. They gave me like 10 screen protectors. This is awesome. Well, I didn't look any further into it, so I pulled one out and stuck it on and not paying any attention to it. And then when I looked down, I'm like, oh, that's writing that's at the bottom. That's okay. And I sort of fanned through the other ones, noticed they were all different languages, and I'm like, oh, so they probably tell you what the buttons are, or what the things are.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, so I'm like, well, I'm not going to change it now because I know all the symbols and what they mean anyhow. So, no, one thing I was not happy with Mind about is the fact that, and everybody does this these days, but every other detector manufacturer that I know of still gives you a manual with the detector. You have to. You get a quick start guide, and if you want a manual, you can download it and print it yourself, which I was kind of bummed about that because I love having the manuals. I keep them all on my shelf and, on my bookshelf and for quick reference and stuff when I find that easier than jumping on the computer and looking stuff up. So I did print myself out one today, and I will add that to my collection of manuals. So, but I was a little bummed out about that.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. They all, no detector's perfect.
Well, and the thing is, I get it. Like 90% of people won't even look at the manual. They'll do the stuff. They'll use their computer to look at all that stuff anyhow. It's a different age that we live in these days. And, I guess maybe I'm kind of old school with
in the bathroom, there's a pile of manuals above the toilet, and that's my reading material when I'm dropping the kids. When I'm dropping the kids off the pool, man, I'm reading because that's the only time you can around here with the kids.
Yeah, man. When you're taking the Browns to the Super Bowl, that's when you do it.
Right, exactly. So I'm with you. I get that, but yeah, not a big deal. I mean,
Yeah, no, it's not. It's not anything against the machine or anything. I was just kind of bummed out because. Like I said, I've got manuals for every detector I have, and I'm just a fan of a nice printed manual, but that's all right.
Anything else on it?
That's about all I got to say for right now. I will say that there is a guy that makes some cool carbon fiber shafts for that thing, and I was looking at those, and I think I might order one of those. I don't know if it'll improve performance or of anything, but it sure looks good.
Brian either just got or is getting this week a big shipment of those shafts in.
Oh, really?
Yep. Well, so, and if
anybody
out there listening needs a shaft, get a hold of me, Brian, or Gypsy Jules. We can hook you up. Any other metal detectors?
I need a shaft, man.
Yeah, I'm not going to go there. I'm just going to walk away from that.
All right, that didn't come out exactly how I was thinking in my head.
We're going to stay on track. We're not going to go off the rails here. Was there anything else you wanted to add, or
that's about all I have for tonight?
Bill said, "Call Mike, Matt, or Gypsy to get the shaft." Right. You'll get a different shaft from Matt. He doesn't sell detectors through Brian, so but he will give you another. I'm gonna reel it in.
You reel it in.
Here's we're gonna end on the C-scope, and I might have an hour on this detector, so I've been trying to wrap up. The Anfibio, I want to get as much. I need to get that that written. I want to write about it. I want to, but there's still some things I got to do. I'm getting close because I've got quite a few hours on it, but it's more, I want to compare it, go back and compare it with the multi-cruiser some. But, oh yeah, I brought that up. So the C-scope, an hour, I can't talk much about it, but the C-scope is,
That's a non-VDI machine, correct?
Yes. The 6MXI, I believe, is what it is. And what really got me interested in C-scope was everybody that we've had on the UK podcast they've been around forever over in the UK, and either they've used them or they have one. Like, it kind of amazes me. Everybody over in the UK started off with a C-scope, at least, or they still use them. So I'm just like, man, and we're going to actually have them on the UK podcast soon. But anyhow, so that got me interested, and that's where I got the interest. But none of them have VDIs and stuff. But if you know me, that's not a deal killer by any means. Again, Tesoros have been some of my favorites for field hunting. Absolutely. I kind of have gotten away from Tesoros simply because you can take something like the Anfibio or the multi-cruiser and to me, I can do it easier. It's not even that I can do it better. I can do it easier. With the iron volume, I can turn off where like a Tesoro, you got to run with a single tone and as much iron, you got to run disc. Now it works great with disc on, but you're going to get some choppy signals and this and that. And, I've always said, if you, take my Outlaw, make it 2-tone, one for iron and a tone for everything else. And you turn you've got an iron volume knob. And I don't think I would ever get away from that. Well, so what turned me on to this 6MXI, it's a 3-tone. And so you've got a volume for your iron. You've got a tone for your iron and a volume for your iron. I like that a lot. Then wherever you turn your disc to, that separates your two tone. That gives you your two other tones. So I took it out the other day for just like an hour. After I wrapped up metal detecting with the Anfibio, I pulled it out and I wanted to give it a try. Before I get to that, the housing, the detector is super light. The control unit mounts to the very back of the shaft, underneath your arm cuff, and it's just light all the way around. But you can also hip mount it really easily. And when you're talking field hunting, and beating up against those stocks and swinging in that stubble all day long, for me, the lighter the better. Even when you've got it, I've said this and many times, even when you have a super well balanced detector, whether it's, let's say you got a 3.5 pound detector, super well balanced, you can swing all day. When you take that into the field and you start beating up against corn stalks, every time you're bringing 3.5 pounds to a complete stop. So I love that you can mount that. You can mount that on your hip. It's still super lightweight. You can put it in a pocket. Well, you could mount it off of a pocket, I should say. Really like that. Love the 3 tones. Love how that works. So when I first pulled it out, I just set it to 4, the disc. And my very first target was a high tone. Of course, I'm going to dig high tones in this trashy place. And it wasn't impressive what I found, but what I found at the depth was, it was the the top part off of a pull tab. You know how people will twist their pull tab and break that tab off where the circle is at the top? And what did I tell you? It was like 6 or 8 inches. I can't remember now.
Yeah, you said it was a good 6 inches plus down there.
Yeah, it was deep, and which kind of confused me because it was a high tone, and I would have thought I would have been up high enough to. But what I learned, if you take disc all the way to the right, full disc, now you're still listening to everything counterclockwise, but it's where you're setting your 2 tones is how that works, and there's a volume for that too, which is awesome. So I'm sorry, I'm trying to get all this in my head right so I say it right. So all the way at 10, so disc all the way over, what I was finding, it would still pick up a zinc penny, but that was kind of the cutoff. I like that a lot. I can take that in a trashy schooler park and dig some coins with it, because it I know where the cutoff is. It's all the way over, and then I can take the disc volume and turn it down. So I ended up having iron volume at like 1 or 2. I had disc volume at 5, and then my high tones were coming in high, and I dug that a lot. I like that. One of the other things I like, it doesn't have a depth gauge because it doesn't have VDI. I could really hear the depth. Really impressed with that because a lot of detectors for me, my hearing's not the best. So to be able to hear the depth, especially a detector that doesn't have a depth gauge, was really nice. What else was there? There was a couple other things I wanted to bring up.
What type of batteries does that take?
Oh, I'm glad you brought that up because I didn't even write that down, but there's definitely, that is something that could be a downfall to some people. I've got rechargeables. It's not a big deal, but it takes 8 AA batteries. Now, it says in the manual you should be able to get 40 hours out of it, out of those 8 AA's. So I just loaded it up with my rechargeables, not an issue. I like the coil. The coil's lightweight. I think, and I don't know, I'll have to get some testing done. I think it could be like my go-to field detector. We'll see. I could sit there as I was swinging along. I could hear all the iron, but it was coming in low, and it was hitting iron. I got a signal. Another thing I like about it, like in the house, just playing around. I'm not a big air test guy. I'm going to tell you that right now, but I will play with stuff. I don't take it to heart. But what I was noticing is I could hear differences. And again, I don't have real good hearing, but like a dime, it had a real nice tone at the end, at the sides, as the coil was passing over it from side to side, where bottle caps had a more clunky sound on the ends. It wasn't as smooth, and for me to be able to hear that, that's pretty good because my hearing's not tuned, like that, and I really like that. Well, I got a hit out in this field, and it was a real good high tone with a real clunk at the end. I mean, so noticeable. I'm like, okay, I gotta dig this. I don't know, I can't imagine what this is. It was a piece of iron. And again, this goes back to everything can be fooled. Every detector gets fooled on iron, but I loved that it really didn't fool it because, that big clunk on the end was a giveaway. Hey, so this ain't another coin. So I really like that about it. But I really think this could be like my go-to field detector when I'm back home stuff. And if you think about over in the UK, they do a lot of field. Most of them are hunting in fields. They're not hunting in parks and stuff. And although they do come across like those moo tubes and stuff like that, they all dig them even with VDI machines because it's a good tone. You got to, over there in the age of stuff. But I've my initial impression is it is super, super impressive. I like it for sure. But we'll see, more time. The 8 AA batteries, I think that could be a turnoff for some people. I'll be honest with you. I'm a little bit concerned with some of these detectors with the rechargeable batteries, internal, long term. It was one of my big concerns with like the multi-cruiser and stuff. Now, one thing I love about those, you can buy a battery pack that still keeps the detector waterproof. I love that about Nocta Macro. They kind of thought ahead with that. So to me, that is a great thing. But I'm more. I think I would lean more towards batteries in the first place. But to some people, that could be a turnoff. What else? There was the handle. It's just a handle that slides up and down the shaft. But not only will it slide up and down, you can turn it left or right. And so as I'm walking in the field, I'm loosening it up and adjusting it to where it felt just perfect. And I'm swinging along and I get done. And I just, when I started to put it in the car, I noticed it. My handle was slightly off center. And like, I was surprised at how much it was off. It wasn't a bunch, but looking at it, I mean, it was something I noticed right away. The handle was off center. If you look down the shaft from the center of the arm cuff to the coil, it was sitting slightly, I think slightly off to the left. Now I'd have to look at it. So I love that you have that adjustability there, and the handle's really soft, really nice. Overall, seems like a great build. One of the problems I have with to get it in, I took Steph's car out the other day, and to get it in the trunk, I had to shorten it up. Which way do you turn?
Counterclockwise.
Counterclockwise, right? To loosen it.
To loosen it clockwise.
No, counterclockwise.
Yeah, well, generally, no, clockwise, because that would loosen it up. It'd be like unscrewing something. You're turning it right to the right. It would be opposite of what you would with a screw. If you were tightening it down, you would generally turn it. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, clockwise. Yeah, I'm sorry, clockwise. Yeah,
clockwise to tighten it.
Yeah.
Or hold on. Now I'm confused.
I'm thinking back. It depends which way you're holding the shaft, I guess.
I mean, if you're holding it from the handle,
yeah.
Reach down, it's counterclockwise to loosen it. Counterclockwise. Somebody help me out here. Me and Matt are stuck.
I'm holding the Equinox right now, and it's clockwise to loosen it, counterclockwise to tighten it.
Okay, maybe I'm wrong. Okay, whatever. It's different than what I've been using overall, so then it's the other way. I don't know. I kept going to loosen it, and I was tightening it, so it was backwards. Maybe I was having a backwards day. I don't know. Maybe that was the problem.
Mike, I had two questions for you about that machine. Is that machine is available in the U.S.?
No.
Okay. And my second question was, what kind of price range is that machine in?
I don't know. I mean, I know, but I know it in pounds. I don't know how that converts over, but I want to say, you know what? I knew, now I don't know.
I was just kind of curious. Oh, you know what? One more thing that I wanted to mention too, before I forget, about the ORX that really impressed me. In the manual,
hold on. Hold on. I'm sorry. Which one did you say?
On the XP ORX, in the manual, they break down they do like an exploded view of the detector and all the different parts, components, battery, everything, and they give you part numbers for all that stuff. So it must be stuff that's all available, which is really exciting to me. I think that's great because, being that everything on that thing's wireless, and obviously you got internal batteries and stuff and whatnot. But yeah, they break it all out real nice, and they give you part numbers for everything. So that I think is really cool.
That is cool. That is very cool. Yeah, that's great. So I think we're ready to wrap up, if I'm not mistaken, right? I just looked it up. It's like you can get it from Regtons over there. I think it's Regtons. Yeah. It's like 525 pounds for the 6MXI.
Okay.
So yeah, it's a neat detector, man. I think it's we'll see. We'll see. I got to get some time on it and use it, but if it'll handle the iron like I think it will, in my understanding, it's both digital and what's the other one?
Analog.
It's both, and super fast, man. I mean, like I was in a spot where I could hear the iron at a low volume. It was just I mean, I was hitting a lot of iron, and the targets I dug were just not an issue at all. So initial impression, I think it'll do real good in iron, and being that. And it's super fast too. Like I wasn't pinpointing with it either. I could just hear it, I could just pinpoint with, that is one thing I can tell you, no matter how long I use it, I'm not going to like it. The pinpoint is underneath the arm cuff on the housing. And I used it just to see if it worked and how it worked. And it works great, but to get to it, oh my God, it's two hands. You got to be holding this thing and reaching under and using a pinpoint. No thanks. But luckily, it's one of those that I like, especially field hunting. I would never use pinpoint. And I was hunting in grass, and from the very first target to the last one, I hit them all perfect. So yeah. I'm done. Do you got anything else you want to add?
The only thing else I want to add is I have the secondary back logo just about finished for that I've been working on, and it's going to look really sweet. And
We've heard it. We've heard it before.
You saw the beginning part of it. It's going to be sweet.
I'm pretty sure you told Ken it'd be done by Sunday, which was 2 days ago.
Well, it was halfway done by then.
Okay.
So I was only partially wrong.
Man, you're busy and stuff. It's okay. I get it. I got to give you a hard time.
No, it's going to look really good, and it's going to look really cool. I might even make up just a test shirt do it with vinyl myself, just to take some pictures of one, and it's going to be sweet.
Get it done so we can get it to Ken, man. Let's do it.
Yes, will.
I appreciate it. Okay, guys, we're gonna go ahead and end the show. Gypsy Jules on Facebook, check her out. Girls Rock Metal Detecting. That's Siren Kimmy. She's such a big help. She's done our intros and stuff. Really like Kimmy. Ohio Relic Hunting on Facebook. Man, that's like my Ohio group. Dirt Pirates on Facebook. Love going there. Good people. I can't say I've ever seen issues. I've left a lot of groups because I'll see bickering and stuff allowed to keep going, and kind of a free for all. I like that I don't see that on these. So that's always a good thing. Probably my favorite UK people, Huntress Kimmy and Clodhopper Scott. Scott is actually from New York, and so, yeah, they're a lot of fun. Check out their videos. They always find cool stuff, and they have fun doing it. So, thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Man, my voice is getting rough. And catch us next Monday. I'm not sure off the top of my head, we've got our shows planned. Oh, next Monday, we're going to do beach hunting. saltwater beaches and stuff like that. Gypsy's really good with that. We're going to talk metal detectors, equipment, strategies, and stuff like that. So tune in next Monday. Tuesday, I'm not sure off the top of my head, so we'll get it figured out, Matt. And thank you all for tuning in, and have a good night.
See you guys.